Alright, I believe we're live, so I'm not sure. YouTube has been cutting in and out with the stream, so I'm just going to start talking, and if you see any problems, notify me in the chat. What you may notice from the title of this stream is that I'm planning on updating you on how I've been progressing with the environment project, and I have been progressing. I have a checklist. You'll notice that on said checklist there are many boxes that are checked off. So I've been working pretty hard, and in some cases a little extra because I forgot to save, but that's aside and is my fault. This is completely my fault. So today, like I said, I will be updating you on the environment project, and so we will be checking in with Jeffrey, and I will be showing you that, so see how he's doing. And there he is. He's spinning around in circles, just doing his thing. And so the reason he's spinning in circles is because I've decided that this is the null state, which that isn't necessarily a specific term, that's just what I'm calling it. So this is basically the state that the boss program will, this is the instructions the boss program will give to Jeffrey in a situation where the parent program has not created a program, a best program or best set of decisions for that certain situation. So the current situation he's in, the boss program has told Jeffrey to sit there and spin in circles, and the reason is because this does not gain any points or lose any points other than the fact that over time you lose points from health. But I couldn't, obviously I want it to see that this isn't the best situation. So so this is basically the null state, because if I picked a state where it was moving or where it had the flashlight on or anything, then it would be getting points for doing nothing, and I don't want that. So this is the best situation. You will see that the health is going down, and Jeffrey doesn't care because at the moment the parent program is not set up. So the parent program is not taking in orders and improving the instinct of Jeffrey. So for now, as long as I run this program, Jeffrey's just going to sit in that corner and spin in circles. So that's why I've been working pretty hard lately, and I've almost finished the driver program, which is what I'm currently running to show you this. And so I thought I had finished it, but it turns out that the information variables, so all of the arrays set up to keep track of what's on the screen, were getting false information, in some cases no information at all, and I need to get to the bottom of that. I actually spent a good chunk of time, maybe 3 hours today, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to trash all of that work and some of the work that I did in the past and just start over on that situation, on that whole idea, because for some reason all of the logic I was using to plan that out is sound, and obviously I've made a minor mistake somewhere and it's too small to figure out where that is. So I think it will actually be more time efficient to completely start over and just plan it out a little bit more. So I'm going to try and outline it, maybe on my whiteboard, or I'll actually write out an outline, and then move on from there with a little more insight into how the code should be pictured. You will see that the score has gone to negative 10,000, I believe, and the reason for that is because he's about to die. So there you go, Jeffrey died, and so now it's back up to 500 because he's in the space where he needs to be charging. So the blue bar there was building back up, and now it's back down to its original 100 so on starting value. So the program itself, the driver, is ready to receive information, but the section of the code that would be communicating with the boss program is not functioning as well as I would hope, and what it would use to decipher those decisions that the boss program provides it is not working as well. What I mean by that is that the informational arrays that I was talking about, so let's say there's a variable array that's all of the rocks on the screen. So you can see there's one rock on the screen. So in this situation, Jeffrey should have in that variable array that there is a rock in that square. And so what the problem is that it's either saying that there's no rock there, or it's saying there's a rock everywhere, which is even worse because I have a limited space for the amount of rocks that can be on the screen, because Jeffrey can only see these rocks if they are in light. So if he has his flashlight on, which you'll notice that I updated the color scheme on this. The reason is because in the first video, when I had my roommate testing it out, I had a lot of black squares, and whenever you saw a full black screen, it was actually I believe 625 little black squares that were covering the entire screen. And the problem with that is that computers are very bad at printing things to the screen. So anytime you have to print more things to the screen, it's going to extremely diminish how fast a program can run. But so what I was saying is, if Jeffrey has the light on and he's nearby a rock, then it will pop up in the rock array, and it'll say, hey, there's a rock here, it's this far away, and it's in this direction. And then if he knows where a piece of food is, so in this situation he would know because that little food pellet is in the light. So what should happen is in the food array, it should say in this position, or actually in this direction and this far away, there is a food pellet. And now that's not necessarily what it's saying because Jeffrey doesn't necessarily have the capability for transcribing that into intuition. So what I mean by that is, well, the whole purpose of the program as a whole is for the AI to figure out what all this information is and make decisions based off of it, off of the information. So in the beginning, all it's getting is a bunch of numbers. So in this situation, it would be feeding in a classification, which I don't think it actually feeds that in. It just feeds in the direction and the distance, but it knows that it's a rock because, like I said, there's a array for each different type of things. So it's sending in the information that is for the food pellet, and then if there were multiple food pellets, then it would have the information in order from which one is closest. So the closest food pellet will be first, and then the second closest will be second, and so on and so on and so on, until you run out of food pellets, and then they're just a null value, which actually in this case I believe is 1000, because that's just extremely out of the range of the possible distance that can be on the screen. So what it does is all of those values get shifted to the back of the array, and so they become irrelevant unless for some reason the AI decides to try and make a decision based off of those distances, which it could, and it could technically make a smart decision using those, but it would be a little more tricky than, it wouldn't necessarily have to do with the category that the array stands for in itself. It could just be something where it's like,
it doesn't want this to happen, so it blocks it out by saying, "Is this true?" Or it could say like, "Is the direction or something?" It could use, because what I did for the null value for the direction is it's random, so there isn't a specific direction that it would favor. It can be any of any integer radian 1 through 6. So basically, there's a whole circle of possibilities of directions. So if it wanted to go in a random direction for some reason, then it could pick the last of the variables, and that would almost always be a random direction, and it could choose to go in that direction. But this is just speculation. Like I said in the past, everything that this AI does is completely random, and the only reason that it works in my favor and in Jeffrey's favor is that the code that is scanning through it and is creating the new random generation favors a higher score. So it will create random changes, but it is more likely to keep the things that make the score higher. So, and this is more significant in my past programs, which, like the HiveMind project and the Ball Drop project, which is seen on the Saturday streams. So what happens is there's one specific program that's running, and there's one task, and it's trying to create the best situation for that task. In this case, there is a multitude of tasks. So Jeffrey has to keep his health up, manage his battery, and explore. And so the AI has to figure out how to do that, has to balance when it needs to do what, and that's what ties into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So the AI has to, if the health is low, then it needs to focus on the health. So it will have to immediately, like once it hits. I should probably explain the library, but I will in a second. Once it hits a certain percentage, it should start looking for food pellets no matter what's happening. So that's a consideration, but it's not necessarily something that it has to do. For a sense, it can figure something else out, and that's kind of something I would like it to do. I have 3 goals specifically for this project. And those goals are for Jeffrey to, 1, survive for longer than 5 minutes at a time, so he doesn't get teleported back to the start in a total of 5 minutes. And then 2, I want Jeffrey to hunt, which is a big thing to ask of the AI, but I just think it'd be amazing if it happens. So that's basically like how I've explained in the past. There are enemies that are above a certain level in the game, and if Jeffrey gets too high and gets close to those enemies, the enemies start chasing him, and if they catch him, then they start hitting health pretty quickly. So then Jeffrey can use the gun to hit these enemies, and they will provide back a little bit of health and a little bit of battery. So that's if Jeffrey hits the enemy. It's not just a guarantee of using the gun. So not only does he need to figure out how to aim at the enemies and then fire, but it also requires a little bit of timing and notification that, hey, there's an enemy there, and I need to be there. I need to turn there before it gets to me, so I'm not losing health in the situation. But and then the third goal, because I said there was 3, is for it to surprise me. So I just want the AI to do something I wasn't expecting, and that has almost happened. That has happened in pretty much all of my projects. In the Ball Drop project, you'll see that actually the shape that the string of dots made was surprising to me, because a lot of times it would create an L shape, and I was expecting it to make a U shape, but it actually makes more sense to make an L shape, because then this one can push it in this direction and this one can push it up. And so that's the way it surprised me, because I wasn't expecting it to use the fact that it could choose two directions to go at once to its advantage. In the HiveMind project, I wasn't expecting the HiveMind to just set everything going in circles, and I wasn't expecting that to be relatively successful, but it was. And it actually makes sense. If you can get everything rotating in the same circle, then there's a very low chance of them running into each other. So that was a surprise. And then, so in this project, I just want it to surprise me. I don't know what that surprise is going to be, because it's a surprise. So I hope you stick along and stay on the ride with me, and be surprised yourself. So what I said, I needed to talk a little bit about the library. So that's one of the improvements I've been adding. So it's one of the checkboxes on my list. The library is the arsenal of instinct that Jeffery uses to make decisions. So what there is there's a table of contents, and then there's 16 different cases, and then in those cases there are different instincts based off of what the environment is. So that sounds like a lot. I'm just summarizing at the moment. So the table of contents is the more important variables. So what I mean by more important is the low end of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So the necessities. So health is first, because if health goes to 0, Jeffery dies. So health is the most important. So it says, is the health between 0 and 25? If yes, skip down to this part. And then it's if not, then is the health between 25 and 50? Is the health between 75 and 50? And is the health between 100 and 75? And those are the different categories. And then once it finds what category of health it's in, it jumps down and looks at the battery levels within that scope of health. So if it has, let's say, 66 health, which it doesn't at the moment. Jeffrey's doing pretty bad at the moment, but let's say Jeffery has 66 health. Then 66 is between 50 and 75, so it will hit the I believe the 50. Okay, so it's the second lowest. Yeah, the second lowest section. So it's the second lowest 25 or quartile. Well, let's call it quartile. So the second lowest, the second highest quartile. So then if it will move and find the cases that are associated with the second highest quartile of health, and then then it will scan through those cases, and those cases are labeled based off of battery quartiles. So if let's say, well, Jeffery has full battery, so let's go with full battery. So full battery is the highest quartile, so it'll go 50 to 75 health, then 7,500 battery to 10,000, I believe, and then once it gets there, it says, okay, you're in case, I believe that would be 12. So case 12, just because there's 16, so if you have to start in, it's the end of the second quartile. So it's 12 because that's the third fourth of 16, if that makes any sense. So it says, I'm in case 12. So it closes out the table of contents and opens up the text file having to do with case 12. And then case 12 has the first instinct is always the null instinct, which is what I said Jeffery is doing here. And so that null instinct is just there in case the boss program has not already put an instinct in there, then Jeffrey has something to do. So Jeffrey can sit there and spin in circles, saying, "Hey, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to spin in circles." So then, when the boss program says this is a situation that Jeffrey is in often or has been in the past, so the way the boss does that is the boss is constantly sampling environments from the program. So the driver program is saying, "This is what I'm seeing," and the boss program says, "Okay, do this when you see this." And so the boss program starts out by putting the null information for that specific environment. So let's say in this environment there's a rock and there's a food pellet. So there's two known things, that one of them is a rock and one of them is a food pellet. So then the boss program puts the code into the library, and then Jeffrey scans through the library and says, "Okay, this is the situation I'm in, so I should do this, I should follow these instructions." And so it pulls out those instructions and applies them into its own code. And the way it does that is because each instruction is another text file, which the driver program reads through and applies decisions based off of the data that is in that text file. So then, what happens if Jeffrey gets to a situation and there isn't a instinct library, or there isn't an instinct set of data for the current situation that he's in, then it finds the closest situation and makes decisions off of that. And what I mean by that is it says it takes in a bunch of different factors. So it says how many things are on the screen. So in this case there's 2. And then it says how many of them are unknown, in this case none. How many of them are rocks, 1. How many of them are food, 1. So then Jeffrey would look for the 0, 1, 1, 0 category, because there's no enemies, and would try to apply those instincts. But if there isn't that situation, then it says, then there's an algorithm I've written that tests the fitness, so to speak, of the other environments. So it says, how close is this environment to what I'm in right now? And the way it does that is, so it scans through, and it scans through all of the environments, and if it finds a situation, if it finds a situation that's better than the one it's already found, then it replaces it, and it keeps that, and it keeps scanning and keeps scanning. It says, oh, this one's better, so it puts this here, and at the end of it, it has the closest situation out of all of the environments that have already been looked at by the boss program. And then Jeffrey does those decisions. So actually, at the moment, Jeffrey is doing a null decision, which, like I said, is the automatic response. But the current decision that it's running, actually, because it was just at 66, which is funny, because that's what I was talking about. The current decision is actually the second instinct, because I ran the boss program a couple times just to see if it would work with adding in the new information to the library, and it did. So it created that situation, and now Jeffrey is making his decisions based off of that. So now it's into the second to last quartile, or no, I believe it'd be the second quartile if we're talking strictly statistics. The second quartile of health. So now Jeffrey is in a situation where there is not an instinct already put out for this case. So he's simply scanning through the possible instincts in that case, which the only one is the null situation. And so since there's only one, he says, this is the best I got, so I'm going to do it. So he sits there and spins in circles. And so each time the score gets below another, gets into another quartile, the instinct switches up and changes how the decisions are made. So that was a big improvement, and that was a successful improvement, other than the fact that at the moment the driver is not providing the correct information to the boss. So in this situation, the driver, I believe, would be providing all zeros to the boss, which is wrong because it can see that there's a food pellet, and there's some gray area to whether or not it can see the rock because it's a little further from the light source, but in most cases it should. So it should be firing information, and then there might be an oscillation between whether or not that rock is unknown or a rock, and it will keep updating that. But that's something I'm planning to work on in the future here, and in the near future, assuming I can find time, but I have been finding time. And so I will be keeping you updated. I will definitely update you on Saturday if I have any improvements. I'm hoping that I can get a guest on for Saturday. I have it in the works, but I'm not completely certain that it will pull through. And by it, I mean him. But I'm hoping that we will be able to have another social interaction on the screen, and as well, I'll give you a heads up. So I'm hoping that this will be a math topic. So if you know me and my friends, you may be able to guess who that guest will be, but I will leave that up in the air for all of those that are not currently at the same college I am. So for the end of this stream, and I actually have been letting it go a little longer than I was expecting, for the end of this stream I'm going to attempt to show you the playable version of this, which I had my roommate testing in the previous stream, but it's possible that it will crash the stream, so I'm doing it at the end of the stream so that if it crashes, then that'll just be the end of the stream. But here goes nothing, so I'm gonna close Jeffrey out here and then pull up the playable version. So now I have the playable version open, and you can see I'm moving around. There's a food pellet right there. I can go ahead and grab it. And so I'm going to turn the radar on and the light on. So you can see this block over here is blinking, and since I had the light on, now it's not because I'm closer to it. So this is representing the information that Jeffrey will be receiving. So I see let me get the mouse out of the picture. I see a unknown object up here, so I'm going to go look at it, and it's a rock, so I don't really care about that. And then I'm going to keep moving on to another unknown. It's rock, and then I'm going to keep going. Oh, that's a food pellet, so I'm going to grab that. Okay, so then you can see that the battery power is going down fairly quickly, and I'm just going to go charge up, because I want to go see if I can get it to be attacked by an enemy, just so you guys can see how that works. So I'm going to move up, but if I see any food pellets along the way, I'm going to grab them just so I don't die before I get there, although the health goes down fairly slow, and the battery goes down fairly slow as long as you're only using a few things. The sprint actually eats up a lot of battery, but it's supposed to be kind of like an adrenaline thing. So if you're being chased by something, you can outrun it, but you take a toll on your body. So that's the idea I was going for. I need to stop focusing on the food because I'm starting to run out of battery, and I want to make sure I can get up to an area where there are enemies. But I'll grab that one because it's right there. So you should be able to see a green dot start to fling in towards me in the near future, and I'm hoping that we can get one around here. The score is written in white, so you can't really see it right now. I'm planning to. I have that fixed in the current driver program, but it might run out of battery before we get here. Come on. And it's cool seeing all these things just appear and disappear. Actually, when the battery... Oh, there we go. There we go. So there's an enemy. And my battery actually ran out. So I'm going to let it kill me. But, so in this situation, you can see when the battery runs out. But what I'm leaving it like this so that when I show Jeffrey on the stream, you will be able to see what is going on, but Jeffrey will not know about that. So he will just be sitting here spinning in his little circle in the corner, and then he will make his decisions as he gets a little smarter. I don't know if I will be able to have the actual AI running at the same time as the stream because of my computer's capabilities of processing. But what I'm hoping is in my free time and when I'm at class and stuff, I will be able to have the AI running here and help Jeffrey out. And then when I stream, I will be able to show how well he's doing to the stream just by running the driver program, which you can see does run fine. I think when I get the file reading and file writing sorted out, it will be running a little bit slower, so I'll have to figure that out. But at the current moment, it seems like that is the best situation. So I'm hoping that I will be able to give you video evidence of the updates, but if not, I still will be updating you. So if you follow my Twitter, then I'll be posting little videos if I see anything interesting happening, just because it's a lot easier to post a quick video as opposed to opening up the stream and trying to show everybody. So but I will be streaming regularly, so like I've said in the past, it's Wednesdays at 6 to 8. That's a varying time, so it's not necessarily from 6 to 8. Like today it started at 7, and then Saturdays at 6 to 8. And so I will be posting on Twitter about the guest if I can organize that. But other than that, I think I've updated you on everything I was hoping to, so I will be signing off. But thank you for watching, and if you're watching later on YouTube, or if you're feeling up to it right now, please subscribe. It helps me out, and it's a lot easier to get the updates out to you if I don't have to go find you guys to let you know. I'm planning to try and do a little advertisement soon, but I want to get this project sound and running so that I have something to show off. So I'll be waiting, but in the meantime, you guys will be seeing the entire process. And so if you have any questions, please let me know. I will update. I will either answer you in the comment section if it's a small question, or if it's something that I feel I haven't explained well enough, I will wait until the next update and explain it in depth. But thank you for watching, and I will be signing off. So, bye-bye.